Ride the signal through the unknown. This is the cryptic current.
The world in recent years has become extremely chaotic. At the end of 2019, the most severe pandemic in modern history caught humanity off guard. People were quarantined at home, streets were deserted, airports closed. Scenes usually only seen in movies appeared in real life. But that wasn't the only problem we faced. Wildfires erupted uncontrollably, extreme weather wreaked havoc, the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, the Israel-Hamas conflict. Crises occurred one after another as if prearranged. However, as if knowing the world would face danger, a group of forces from another world had been quietly acting. In 1960, Nancy Antep, an American scientist researching super-psychic phenomena, first noticed many parents bringing their children to her for help. The parents described their children often seeing light emanating from people's bodies, seeing souls, angels, and even God. A couple abroad even recounted that their child, only 6 months old, could speak and told the mother that the future would bring great difficulties. These parents worried whether their children were normal. However, according to doctors' diagnoses, even the children who saw strange lights were very healthy. Thus, helpless, the parents turned to psychologists for assistance. But according to Nancy's diagnosis, these children not only had no psychological issues but also possessed superior superpowers. And these were the indigo children. Each indigo child has different abilities, full of creativity, sharp intuition, and always has many new ideas. Some can converse with animals and plants, even sensing their emotions. Others see the energy fields around people's bodies and can even predict the future. But the question is, why did such a large number of indigo children suddenly appear? Hypnotic regression expert Dolores Cannon, through hundreds of actual hypnosis cases, also discovered the existence of indigo children. She called these children the three waves, starseeds. Dolores said these souls are a group of highly evolved individuals. They came to Earth with two purposes. First, to change Earth's energy to prevent greater disasters. Second, to elevate humanity's energy, helping those who can transition with Earth to the next dimension. And today we will discuss one of the most special cases among the known indigo children. This child not only saw light on people's bodies but also witnessed many unimaginable things. Today we will talk about a highly shocking book. The Boy Saw the Truth. Hello everyone, I am Miss Ruby. In 1935, an old man lay in bed at home. His body was very weak at this time. He knew he was about to leave the world. Looking back over the past 50 years, he felt his life was truly special. He had witnessed many things ordinary people do not see, experienced many secrets that should not be revealed to the human world. And these things were about to change. The old man used his last bit of strength to open his eyes and look at his life once more, then peacefully closed his eyes and passed away. The old woman felt mixed emotions, but she knew she would see him again before long. Now she had a more important mission. It was time to publish the old man's diary. And so, the old woman took up a pen and wrote a letter to Mr. Ciro, a mystic in Scotland. The letter included, "Dear Mr. Scotch, this is my husband's childhood diary. I think you will greatly enjoy reading it. While cleaning the family bookshelf, I discovered it. After reading it all, I learned many miraculous things. It turns out souls, little people, past lives, reincarnation, all are real. Because my husband witnessed them firsthand. Not only witnessed, he lived with them his entire life. And clearly recorded the process of interacting with them in his diary. And so, I encouraged him to publish the diary publicly. He later agreed, but with two conditions. First, the diary could only be published decades after his death. Second, because the events in the diary are all true stories. Therefore, when publishing, the identities of those involved had to be replaced with pseudonyms to protect the privacy of the relevant individuals. Without a doubt, his passing was an immense sorrow for me. But for the people of the world, it was certainly a good thing. Because now you finally have the chance to see the truth. On October 7, 1880, in a wealthy family in northern England, the third child was born, an elderly birth. T revealed the child. According to the book's description, the boy was very quiet from birth and rarely cried as a child. So initially, his mother often boasted to relatives and friends that he was an angel come to repay kindness. But this pride didn't last long. After the boy started learning to speak, he would occasionally look into the air and talk to himself. T paid much attention, until he told her he could see light around people. Even describing that each person had different lights. His mother thought he would grow out of it as he got older, but reality didn't turn out as she expected. In his diary, the boy recorded the events very clearly. On May 3, 1885, on this day, I told my mother not to let Uncle Tom continue trimming the big tree in the garden. Because there was an old little person living there. Every time the big tree was cut, that old little person became very sad. After hearing what I said, my mother became very angry. She warned me that children shouldn't lie. T lying, I didn't. And continued to destroy his home. T that people couldn't. Because the boy always thought everyone could see that little person, which made him find people very strange. Why would they continue cutting the tree when they could see the little person so sad? But soon after, an incident finally made the boy understand that what he saw, others couldn't see. It was a bright, sunny holiday. After breakfast, I was happily talking with my mother and younger sister. At that moment, I suddenly saw Uncle Guiley. He was my father's younger brother, and I liked him the most because he always went with me to visit the old little person in the garden. Once he even took me to the beach, where I saw many more little people. They were playing on the rocks. When one chubby little person among them jumped into the water, the splash was huge. I couldn't help laughing and was swallowed by the chubby little person. He even glared at me. But that day I had an extremely happy time. At this moment, he was sitting on the sofa smiling at me, and I smiled back. Then the door opened, and it turned out my father had returned. T said, "Uncle Guiley is there." Who did you say is sitting there? Why are you talking nonsense? Guiley can. Have you ever told the children about Guiley? At this point, the boy truly couldn't believe it, because since childhood he had often played with his uncle, and just half an hour ago he was clearly sitting there. "Uncle Guiley, please tell everyone you." T take it anymore and angrily ordered the boy. T understand why everyone said he was lying. His uncle was in the living room if he said he wasn't. I'm very sorry, there are people who can. So are you really dead? S said that everyone has their own aura or energy field. This aura changes over time and with a person. In 1995, Russian quantum physicist Konstantin Korokov revealed to the world that after 25 years of research, he had invented photography technology that could capture human energy fields. It turns out each of us is surrounded by a kind of spiritual light. This light can reflect a person's internal energy state. Therefore, the colors captured from each person differ. People who are quite calm and stable are blue, creative people are cyan, mysterious people are purple, lively and enthusiastic people are red, happy people are yellow, and those full of wisdom are golden. We have detailed sharing on this topic in the Body Light video. Those interested can explore further. After the previous incident, the boy finally realized that many things he took for granted as existing, for some reason others couldn't see. For example, he could see golden light like chrysanthemums emanating from his father. Especially every Sunday at church, the blue light around his mother became even darker blue. But when his mother hugged him, the blue light around her would turn pink, and when people are sick, the light around their bodies changes. Mr. Q was a pastor very close to the boy's family. Once when he visited, the boy suddenly noticed the light around him change from blue to gray. Not only had the color changed, but the boy also sensed that Mr. Q was not well. But when the boy asked if he was uncomfortable anywhere, Mr. Q felt embarrassed and said he was very healthy. However, just a few days later, Mr. Q requested a long leave from the church, and it turned out he had a serious illness. In other words, the light the boy saw might have been the energy field. But the question is, why could the boy see the energy field that we cannot? According to scientific research, the wavelength of visible light that the human eye can absorb ranges from about 400 to 760 nanometers. Electromagnetic waves outside this range are invisible, so our eyes cannot see ultraviolet and infrared rays. Animal eyes, however, can see them, so what we cannot see does not mean it does not exist. We also discussed this in detail in the video. It's all about light. Those interested can check it out. Returning to the boy, perhaps his eye structure is different from that of normal people. Or he saw electromagnetic waves that ordinary people cannot, thanks to the support of a third eye. Another time, his mother took him to Mrs. Ko's house. She was a wealthy widow in the area. That day, Mrs. Ko even sent a horse-drawn carriage to pick them up and hosted a lavish feast in her mansion. However, during the feast, the boy noticed that the light around Mrs. Ko was no longer green as before but had turned to the gray of illness. On her shoulder was something like a crab that looked very scary. So, the boy went up to Mrs. Ko and told her there was a scary crab on her. Mrs. Ko was stunned on the spot and could only laugh it off awkwardly. When they got home, the boy was scolded by his mother for this incident. His mother was very angry and demanded that from then on, he not say such strange things anymore. But the boy kept insisting he hadn't lied. Everything he said was true. Since the boy repeatedly disobeyed his parents, they thought he needed stricter discipline. So, they stopped sending him to school and instead hired a tutor to teach him at home. Notably, just a year and a half after that lavish dinner, Mrs. Ko was diagnosed with cancer and unfortunately passed away. And the English word for cancer is cancer. In fact, the English word cancer originates from the Greek word carcinos, which means crab. And it turns out the ancient Greeks had long observed that breast cancer patients developed tumors around their veins that resembled crab legs, so they used the crab to describe cancer. Could it be that the crab the boy saw that day was actually a sign that Mrs. Ko had cancer? After the boy stopped going to school, his parents hired Mr. Portman to teach him at home. In his diary, the boy wrote that he really liked Mr. Portman, who had a humorous personality. Not only teaching academic knowledge, but also often adding interesting little stories. However, every time during lessons, the boy always saw an old man standing next to Mr. Portman. But by this time, the boy had learned to behave and could distinguish which beings were spirits. TC. So, he didn't. Until after he discovered the old man was Mr. Portman's father, the boy began to hesitate. Funeral. He said death is the endpoint of life, everything must die. Teacher, if I tell you some things now, you won. Of course not. On that small boat, you met a girl. At the time, you thought you would fall deeply in love with her. But after the boat docked, you never saw her again. How do you know this? This happened a long time ago, so long that I almost forgot about it. I Dawn. But ever since I met you, I've known many things about you. Mr. Portman seemed unable to comprehend it and said, Vane never believed in the existence of supernatural abilities before, but I think you might have them. Can you tell me a bit more? T believed it and asked, how did you know? Of course I knew, because he wants me to tell you not to be sad about his departure anymore, because he's living very well now. During that lesson, the boy told the teacher many things, all of which deeply shocked the teacher. And what made the boy happy was that after learning about his supernatural ability, the teacher didn't blame him but even thanked him for sharing these stories. This was the first time the boy felt happy about his supernatural ability. And since the teacher learned about it, he also started reading books related to spiritualism. Even during his research, he discovered that many brilliant people in the past believed in the existence of souls. Shakespeare even incorporated the concept of the soul into his plays. Once during class, the teacher shared his latest discovery. He thought the boy might possess the third eye, which we commonly refer to as the pineal gland. Through the third eye, the boy could see tiny people, auras, and even souls. But the teacher still had many questions that couldn't be answered from books. Teacher, if you have any questions, I think we can ask my grandfather. It was only after much persuasion that it was revealed. Besides little Willie, the boy had always been seen. After learning the boy could still communicate with his deceased grandfather, the teacher was shocked once again. One holiday, the teacher invited the boy to his home and introduced his wife to him. This is my wife, she also knows about your ability. When I realized others couldn't. Then one day, while crying, I suddenly saw Jesus. He had long brown hair, blue eyes, and his body had an incredibly beautiful light. But this light wasn't. When he looked at me, I could feel warmth, and instantly, all past wounds were healed. The previous times when Jesus appeared, he didn't. Then on the third time he appeared, he told me not to be sad anymore because soon my grandfather would come to visit me. Sure enough, not long after, he appeared. This truly made the boy very happy because he always told him new and interesting stories, even describing heaven. He said heaven ISN. Currently, people are very afraid of death because they can. But gradually, more people will believe souls are real. By then, people will live more happily and won. At this point, the grandfather suddenly changed the topic and told the boy, I remember you used to keep a diary. You should maintain this habit. Someday your diary will be published and help many people illuminate the darkness in their hearts. After hearing the boy's story, the teacher raised a question. So is your grandfather here now? Yes, actually he just greeted you and your wife. The teacher and his wife also greeted the grandfather, and then the teacher asked him a few questions. When an old person dies, does the soul take the form of that person in old age? The grandfather answered through the boy, no. In the spirit world, souls can change their appearance according to... Usually, they revert to their youthful state. So when you see the spirit world, you... However, because the grandfather wanted to visit the boy and not make him feel too unfamiliar, he intentionally transformed into the familiar form the boy knew. At this point, the teacher suddenly had another question to ask him. I'm very curious. how do humans appear in your eyes? You all look like smoke, very hazy. After hearing this, the teacher found his answer very interesting. Because humans should be the solid entities, right? If ghosts are smoke, then humans are water. So when ghosts look at humans, they can see through their bodies. They can even pass through people, just like X-rays can penetrate the human body. Actually, the fundamental particles in the human body are very sparse, we just don't. Here I also find it very special because this diary was written in 1885. However, human understanding of the microscopic world at that time was very limited, so theoretically, they shouldn't. However, the boy could learn about future scientific discoveries through his grandfather. After hearing about the human form in the eyes of the soul, the boy also asked a question. "Grandpa, why hasn't Grandma come to visit me?" He replied, "Sometimes the soul is bound by thoughts. Even after death, these stubborn thoughts remain. Grandma is currently trapped in her illusory world, repeating the habits she had while she was alive, which prevents her from visiting the family. That's not just her who has this problem, there. Because they cannot accept their own death, or their death came too suddenly, so much so that they don't realize they have died. These spirits remain in the human world, continuing to do the things they did while alive. So why doesn't anyone go help them?" Mr. Portman asked. Grandfather replied, "We have all tried to persuade them, but their attachments are too deep, to the point where it's impossible to convince them anymore." In other words, according to Grandfather's way of speaking, after death, the soul actually has the chance to live a happier, healthier life than when alive. Actually, in this book, Grandfather did mention it. In the spirit world, there are many souls who want to tell their living family members on Earth not to feel sad about their departure anymore, because they are living very well now, and can even say they are more comfortable and happier than when they were alive. However, the family members on Earth live in sorrow because of their departure, which in turn makes the souls very sad. The boy once said in a very childish way that he couldn't understand why everyone wears black to funerals and cries during them. Teaming the end, after death, there is the spirit world, which is very beautiful, but souls don't. When researching the boy's vision of the truth, I noticed a detail in the book. The book mentions that there exists a very mysterious theological society in this world. This organization is composed of a group of elders who have undergone countless reincarnations on Earth. Figures like Mahatma or Maharshi, often mentioned by yoga practitioners, are describing this mysterious organization. Having experienced countless reincarnations, the souls of these elders have evolved to a very high level. But they still choose to continue reincarnating on Earth. They are not indigo children, but a group of masters dedicated to elevating humanity's spirituality. In the diary, the boy recorded, on February 3, 1886, "I saw Jesus again. That day, he told me many things. He said the soul does not stay in heaven forever. After a while, souls who are ready will ascend to another plane of existence, preparing to reincarnate once more, and this is reincarnation." So is there a way to avoid reincarnation? Yes. In fact, every soul before reincarnating decides what they must accomplish in the next life. In other words, the soul bases its choice to reincarnate on Earth again on the karma accumulated from previous lives or many lifetimes before. For example, if someone owes something to another and repeatedly hasn't repaid it, then they will return to the human world once more to find a way to repay it. Others reincarnate because they are worried about someone and want to meet the person they love again. And Jesus reincarnated on Earth to help humanity. Upon hearing this, the boy was extremely surprised and immediately asked, "Isn't Jesus the one who reincarnated? How can you reincarnate again?" "No, I am not Jesus. I am your spiritual master, or you can call me an elder. Currently, I live in the body of an Eastern person, but I can enter and leave the body as a spirit, appearing before those who need my help. At that time, I sensed you needed help, so I appeared before you." And according to the boy's diary, throughout his growth, the elder indeed helped him a lot. Once, the boy's parents decided to move to the city to live, which meant Mr. Portman could no longer teach him. However, Mr. Portman's presence was extremely important to the boy because he not only encouraged the boy to accept himself, but even helped him understand his supernatural abilities. Asked parents to send him to stay at Mr. Portman. Support in Mr. Portman. The boy grew up smoothly and met a beautiful girl at age 20. They quickly fell deeply in love and even held a grand wedding. But less than a year after marriage, he discovered that his wife's personality was very incompatible with his, even considering divorce because of it. He discovered his wife. The elder replied, because at that time, both of you were immersed in love, making it impossible for you to realize she wasn't the right person. So why didn't the elder stop me? The elder laughed and replied, our purpose as elders is to help disciples overcome their karmic burdens. You and your wife share a common karma, so you need to complete it together. If someone had warned you beforehand, it would have interfered with the law of karma, which is not allowed. You reap what you sow. It seems some things are predetermined, and trying to escape them is impossible. What do you think about this? Do you believe there are spiritual masters on earth who help raise consciousness? What in this diary impressed you the most? I remember the boy's grandfather once said that after death, the soul actually has a chance to live more joyfully and healthily than when in the human world. And they were truly happy and at ease. So the issue is how, after ending life here and the death of the physical body, we can achieve a happier and healthier life. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below the video. Our sharing for today ends here. If you found this video or the content on Miss Ruby's channel helpful, please share it with friends to explore together. Thank you very much, goodbye, and see you again. Subscribe to the Lala School channel so you don't miss exciting videos.
If the signal hooked you, subscribe and catch the next ripple.